And hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm David Bowles, and this is Bowles.tv. BOLES dot television.tv. Well, I'm taking these off. Every day, something else changes. Yesterday, we installed the voice mod update that all the Hepcat streamers are using because it makes them sound very strange and very bookish. XQC, who nobody can understand, when he uses a certain voice mod, which I think is the beta narrator voice mod, he becomes a human being. And you can understand every word he says. It's very bizarre. But as I am loath to remember, voice mod does not get along with anything I'm trying to do here. It wants to control your microphone. It wants to control your speakers. A lot of streamers had trouble with it. It's fun for about 5 minutes, and then you have to get rid of it because it really takes over your entire system. So I spent about 30 minutes restoring my Elgato and my microphone. That's interesting. And my NVIDIA broadcast, and such is and so on. Now I'm slightly freaking out, just a little tiny bit, because of our captioning system. And it's working, but it's not working. It's there, but it's not there. It's freaking me out. I don't understand what's going on. Okay. Oh my. I can't believe it. Wow. One moment, please, because this is an experiment. What's happening doesn't make any sense as we're looking. Is that? No, I can't. Maybe that's not it. Is that it? No. Well, here's where it gets really weird. We used to use StreamCC when we were Streamlabs. And that put closed captions overlaid over our stream, which was great because you could turn it on and off by clicking on the icon for StreamCC. However, that closed captioning was not preserved in the video file itself. Then, when we moved to OBS, we initially tried to use their experimental captioning. And we tried it, and we could not see any captions. I have to check something. This is making me crazy. Janice says the CC looks good. It's good to read. That's really freaking me out because it's not supposed to be there. As far as I can tell. But then again, it is there. So this is making me really interested to see what yesterday's show looks like. So I've just got to go test this. And thank you, Jana Marie, sweetheart, for helping me with this, because it's all very interesting to me. And there's no closed caption on yesterday's broadcast. Okay, that's what I thought. So, not to be weird about it. So we have been in this ongoing, often traumatizing mission. Is that playing? Yes, it is. Mission to get captions here for the deaf and hard of hearing, or people who just want to learn English. So we turned on the experimental. There were no captions. However, when I played it back later for the export to YouTube, I saw that there was the CC button and captions were there. It's impossible, they said. There were no captions. Right? Then, it's freaking me out, then I decided to go with Web Captioner, which everyone loves. We recorded it, turned off the experiment, set up a WebSocket. And then it didn't record. And then yesterday we had it set up where it was connected. It did seem like it was recording, but there was no closed caption button. So we set it up where we had open captions yesterday, which is okay, but I prefer to give people a choice. Either they want the captions or they don't want the captions. Oh, I'm not seeing the captions. Oh, they are there. Wow, this is freaking me out, man. So today, we decided to go back to the experimental, because I know that works when it's recorded as a file. But I didn't know if it meant, if it were working, that you would be able to see the CCs, the closed captions, on the live broadcast, which is sort of the point of it all. And it's running, and I can see it's engaged. And it's interesting that Stream CC, closed captions. Oh my goodness, Gordon just said, I realized if I push a CC button, it appears. Whoa. Stream CC uses the Google captioning. Web Captioner uses their own proprietary brand of captioning, but I like it because you can go in their settings and say, make this correction. When I say bowls, it's BOLES, not BOWLS, and we'll fix it. And this OBS uses Microsoft captioning. So I start the show. I have my iPhone here. I have my iPad over here. And there are no captions. And I'm looking for a button. There's no CC button that I can see. Even on my iPhone, as I'm looking at it right now, there's no captions. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I have to turn off the chat. But my main Twitch thing that I watch to see if we're broadcasting, to see what's going on, if our stream is excellent, as I'm sitting here chatting with you, I look down and I see that there are captions. And then I look to my right where my laptop is, and I see there's a closed caption button. So I touch the screen and the captions start. And it's like it's a dream come true. It's like everything we've ever wanted in the world to happen with our closed captioning is now there or not there. It's working and working. It gets recorded as part of the permanent video file. And I don't know if the quality's any good because I really can't see the captions. That was the fun part yesterday about having open captions, is that I could see exactly what I was saying and if it was getting corrected or not. So I could go in later and make the corrections in the settings. But now forget it. I mean, if this experimental closed captioning is baked in to OBS now, wow. Now I see that the closed captions are completely covering my face. I don't know how or why, or if there are even settings where you can go in and set that. Because I don't have them on my iPhone, but I believe Jana Marie is on her iPhone, so I don't know why she has the captions and I don't. Freaking me out a little bit. I don't know why. Maybe I have to turn off chat or something? There's got to be some kind of setting somewhere. I don't know where it is. Chat mode. Identity. Oh my goodness. Jana is watching through her phone. Well, hey, it's working. Don't mess with success, as they say. Andrew J. Carnegie said that, I think, maybe, in my dreams. What? You can't get any easier than that. You don't have to worry about a WebSocket. You don't have to worry about Web Captioner. We're using it for free and paying for it. You don't have to worry about Stream CC. Excuse me, getting hotboxed. You just turn it on and go. And I am yelling a little bit, but that's okay, because I'm very excited about this. Here, Gordon is sharing his view. And look at here. Let's see, this is my browser. That's just super great. And that looks like it's a computer, which makes me very happy. Oh. It's so difficult. And it was right there before our eyes. I just didn't know it was actually working, which is very bizarre. But wow, that's a miraculous discovery. So since we're talking about computers, captioning's done. We never have to talk about it again. It's just there, and it had better always work. Now, these are our commands, which are sort of fun, that we get from our MooBot/BowlsBot. I'll put these links in chat. Gordon says you can see where I have the mouse hovered over the closed caption option. Yes, I'm delighted to see that. Oh, that's not the right one. This is the right one. Yes, the mouse is hovered over. It's not letting me hover. Right there, 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 right there. Hey, it's an ad break. So, these are commands and aliases that you can share with your audience if you like. So I'm going to share them. They're new. And maybe we'll have more commands in the future. I don't know. Depending on want and need. Whoops. As Janice says, I'm typing sideways. And she types sideways because she has her notes in front of her, and I type sideways because I have my great big microphone right here in front of me. Which means we have to type sideways. We have to... The keyboard's over here, but the chat's over here, so we have to go like, Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But these are the commands. Exclamation point commands. Like one, here's all, type one right now, ADS, and it doesn't matter if it's capitalized or not capitalized. This is what I play when people complain, oh, there are too many ads. Meow. Well, meow, meow. Twitch has to pay for their streaming because they don't charge us anything to stream on their network. And theoretically, we get advertising revenue, but we don't. I think we've been streaming for 9 months, and our cut of the advertising so far is $14. But we haven't even reached our payout point, which used to be $100. They've lowered it to $50. So, in another 3 years, we'll get $1 from Twitch for our streaming. You're not in it for the money, you're in it for the fame. Okay. So we have friends, as you know, in Russia. Igba is one of our very favorite artists. We have a very good friend, Alexander, in Ukraine, who has been in and out of touch the past day or two because he loaded up his van to go to the front. I believe he is on the said front. And he hasn't been very active, so I'm sure he's super busy, which is fine. But I hope he's super okay too. So now I have to hide this because I'm going to share with you a very interesting report. Okay, I have to hide this, so that's the main ride. And then I bring out the hidden part so only I can see it, because I promised I would keep this person safe, if you know what I mean. So we have a friend in Russia who wants to remain anonymous. And we had an interesting conversation yesterday about what it must be like to live in Russia under Putin. And to live there and you're not a Putin fan. What are you going to do? How do you survive? So my friend was telling me things in Discord. And I said, well, I would like to share this on the live stream because it's very interesting. He said, it's okay as long as you don't reveal my personality. And I thought that was such a charming word. And I clarified. I said, you mean the name that you go by on Discord and social media? He said, yes, that's what I mean, my personality. Okay. And he doesn't use his real name anywhere. It's just his personality name, I guess. And my friends in Ukraine and Russia are at a great disadvantage for communication because I don't know any Russian. They don't really know English. But all the burden, so to speak, is on them to do the translating. They copy and paste what I say, translate it, they type, gets translated from Russian to English, and then they copy and paste it and put it back to me. So they always apologize for taking so long to get back to me. And it's like, you're doing all the work. I'm just typing. So I was talking to my Russian friend, and I said, hey, because my Russian friend watches our show on the YouTube rerun. I said, well, if you're ever around, like Alexander, you could, join our live stream and say, hey, and comment if you wanted to. And if you want to see the chat, which sometimes people do, then you have to subscribe or Amazon Prime or whatever. And this is the first thing that my friend said to me. He said, I'm reading this, you probably don't know that we can't do subscriptions. See if I can put this so I'm not looking so weird. Even paid programs I used to use, I cannot renew because I'm in Russia with a Russian passport and ID. And this is all because of the lockdown. The United States, the other free countries have locked down Russia and not allowing them to communicate with the rest of the world because they want to punish Putin, but they are really punishing the people. I can't sell pictures on Etsy because of payment restrictions, and everything else that's related to entertainment, including our show, tries to buy a subscription, and he sent me a screenshot that I shouldn't show because it'll probably reveal his personality, saying, you can't buy this. And he goes on to say, I can only watch you using a VPN. We no longer have Apple Pay. That has been cut off. I have to make purchases. And so like before, I have to carry a physical, credit card for, he calls it internal payments, I guess inside Russia payments. And he went on to say, in this sense of being cut off, crypto helps a lot. But Putin is banning cryptocurrencies for regular citizens. Not for him, not for the elite, just for the regular people who live in Russia. Putin wants to control everything. So I replied and said I had no idea any of this was going on. And my friend replied, that's the point. He doesn't care about his people. Can you imagine how he treats other countries? He's a bloodthirsty tyrant. I understand why he wants his personality in. And then I made my comment about Putin and how Putin said yesterday he's going to take over the oceans. And if the United States, he said specifically, does anything about it, it's going to be considered an attack on a sovereign country. Which I told my friend made me really laugh out loud. Because he says that while he's invading the sovereign country of Ukraine. And my friend said he's crazy, Putin. He doesn't care if everyone dies. He only thinks of his own greatness. He has no soul and no compassion. Only delusions of grandeur. But we're human and we're not immortal. He forgets that. Yesterday, a friend of mine was fined $5,000 for saying, "when the war is over." That sentence, $5,000. My friend said, "You know how crazy that is?" My friend said, "You cannot say in Russia right now, 'Stop the war.'" So I didn't really understand what that meant or what's happening. And my friend replied again. He said, "This is all terrible. He's blackmailing Europe with gas because it's going to freeze soon. Did you know that most villages, including my grandmother's, are heated with firewood? And to cook food, they fill up the gas tank. All he cares about is money. He is a pest of peace. And the soldiers who fight for his business interests are zombies." Now he's blackmailing Europe with grain. Europe to make money. My grandmother told me that long ago in her childhood, they harvested a lot of crops, and the government at that time in Russia sent it all to be sold. And the people were starving to death. They ate grass. There's always been a bloodthirsty government here in Russia. It's all about money. There's no morality or humanity. So I asked him, is there anything that you can do, or how do you fight back? How do you survive? You know, if it's your future is going to be eating grass like your grandmother. And my friend said, we can only keep silent and do something in secret. My father lost his job when he spoke out against Putin's policies, and that was before the war. There's what he calls secret service system here. He means, undercover police who are watching you, reporting on you. We can be safe if we don't have an opinion. And so I asked him, I don't understand about the $5,000 fine, if he could explain that to me. And this was his reply. My friend said he wrote about that, the Putin thing, on a social network. He just wrote a comment. It's a Russian social network. We're all there for the intelligence services. In the morning, it was being watched, his friend was being watched. So after he wrote that, when the war is over, that's all he said. When the war is over. In the morning, plainclothes police knocked on his door. They took all of his computer equipment, his phone, his internet, and then they brought him in for questioning. They wrote what he says an article, but it's more like an indictment, titled Discrediting the Russian Armed Forces. That's the title. And then his friend had a choice. You can pay a fine, or you can go to jail if you don't have the money. His friend found the $5,000, collecting from other friends, and paid. The Kontakte is the name of the social network that copies Facebook. Pavel Durov created it. He also created Telegram, that messaging app. And you can watch an interview about how his business was taken away from him in Russia and how he now lives in another country. So this is that network. Be careful what you say, I guess, in Russia, because Putin's goons are there watching you. And they're taking notes. And in the morning, they're going to knock on your door. So then I asked, is it okay with you if I share this on the stream tomorrow, right now? And he said, well, many people don't understand how the system works here, and they need to understand. There is freedom of speech in other countries, but not here. And then that's where he said, don't use my personality. And that was the end of our conversation. They're 7 hours ahead of us. So, if it's 6 o'clock at night here, it's 1 a.m. there. So we are on very different but fascinating sorts of schedules, trying to figure out what's going on and how we feel and what's happening in the world. And now we're going to take a very brief blood pressure break. Returning in a moment. And we are back here on Bowls TV, BOLES .television, bot television .television, Bowls television. I'm messing with the captions. Sorry, a little bit of a long break. I was trying to look on the iPad. I can't see how the captions are turned on an iPad. I cannot, it does not appear that captions, excuse me, are available on Apple TV. And I don't understand that because obviously we're broadcasting the closed captioning signal. So let's see, going back, meow meow. Gordon said, can anyone use any of those commands? And the answer is yes, please do. Here's one of my newest and favorite that bothers the people who watch Jan's show so much, and I don't care. We are promoting and selling NFTs. So it's I'm thrilled that it's working on iPhone. I do not see closed captions on my iPhone. Maybe I don't have it turned on. But on my computer, laptop, they're working. I'm just overjoyed. And I just wish I knew if there was some way to go in there and fix things, like you can with Web Captioner. So Web Captioner does not work unless you're using it for open captions, but that really doesn't have anything to do with being recorded. You want your captions to be recorded as part of the file. But then I don't get my transcript, and I don't get to correct the mistakes that the captioning makes. Meow. But this is better. It works. So now we talked about our friend in Russia, and we have our friend Alexander, who has been on the show yesterday, showed us a lot of videos, who is in Ukraine. And when you tend to talk to people, you say, well, you know, my friend said this in Russia, my friend said this in Ukraine. And when you say that to each of them, you can just tell that they just get a little like that. Because the Russians who are against Putin are embarrassed. And the people who are in Ukraine are really not happy with any Russian. And then, so you try to create common ground. Well, you feel this way, you feel this way. This person's parent got fired for talking about Putin. This person's friend got fined $5,000 for saying when the war is over, not if the war is over, or we won the war. No. And then people in the Ukraine trying to get supplies to the front. It's just a big mess. A big, nasty, old, stinky mess. So I was talking to my friend, Alexander, of the Brothers completely lost my thought here. Because this one I have permission to share because I asked him. Oh, this is a really good conversation. Okay, we'll start with this one. So now I have to go, the brother Karamazov. So now I have to go here and I don't know what the technical term is, but that's what we have to do. So we go to our Discord app and I have to somehow cut this. So we just see what we want to see. Well, that was easy. See, you can't do this sort of cutting, as they say, as all the kids are saying. You can't really do that on a Mac. Now, can I make this bigger? That's the wrong one I'm making bigger. Oh, I have so many things open here. Everything's going to crash one of these days. We can only hope, right? Okay. Oh. That's working. Scooch over. Yes, the scooching. It's a technical term. All the kids are using it. Can we do more? Is it oh? Oh no, I'm making that bigger. I have to make the window bigger here in the actual app. Oh, it's all really confusing. And I should have done this before because it doesn't protect personality, but it does get rid of all that sidebar junk that just sits there. It's static and not moving. So this is Brother Karamazov, Alexander Rushansky, who goes by smidge. On our Discord. So this is a conversation that we had yesterday from the Ukraine version. And remember Irina from yesterday? She was showing us her garden, 93 years old, fought the Nazis, and now she has to fight Putin. And she's 93 years old. I mean, what a life. But Alexander says she's completely satisfied, and she's not leaving. If they evacuate, she's just going to stay. She's 93, she's lived her life, she's very happy where she is, she has her beautiful garden, and she's not leaving. So Alexander said, look, I'm sorry I can't always respond very quickly to you. Irina's wonderful, she wrote down your name and prays for your health every day, which I think is just touching and wonderful. And she asked God for the soldiers, loved ones, and now she added you. Which is very nice. War is very scary, but it shows who is a man. It teaches you to appreciate life and to enjoy little things. Unfortunately, I do not see much of my children and my wife. I have become friends with you. There are stories around that seem unbelievable. I am sure that with your help, we'll be able to show it to the world. And he went on to say, I know there are good people in Russia. Take the example of people who help pay for armored vests and cars, and they do. The people in Russia who are against the war send people in Ukraine, like Alexander, money so they can buy vests and cars to move around their soldiers. And for a phrase written on a sheet of paper, no to war. If you say that in Russia, our friend Alexander knows from Ukraine, you're put in jail. And he goes on to say, we don't hate everyone. We are against those who came to us with guns. We are against Putin's regime. Their policy is trying to make people stupid and make it easier to rule. And he says, yes, Putin has megalomania, and he also wants to push back the borders of NATO, which we're going to talk about in just a second. That's why victory is important, and he means total victory, not just giving Putin a big slice of Ukraine. If we win, I think his regime will fail, and there will be a coup. For too long, people have been taught that they are special, great, strong, and everyone is stupid. And this is where it gets really wonderfully interesting, and this is where you're dealing with artists. Alexander used to be a jeweler before the war. Now I'm going to show you something. And he had a little trouble sending this from wherever he is or was because he sent the image twice. And sometimes Discord is a little slow. The author, the creator of this image, Vitale de Bologna, is a bright representative of the Bolognese art school of the 14th century. He is best known to art lovers for his polyptychs in the Church of Saint Saviour, and his frescoes in the Cathedral of Santa Maria dei Servi in Italy. Here is Vitale de Bologna's depiction of the horned adversary of Jesus Christ, known as the devil, posing as the Messiah. This is one of the most popular images, relatively speaking, of the Antichrist. Right here. Does it remind you of anyone? And then he posted it again because he was having a hard time. He said, the internet is bad, I'm on duty, there's a fresco from a temple in Italy helping me look it up if I need to look it up. And then he says good night. And as he always says to me, good villages and peaceful skies. It must be terrifying to be in Ukraine and see these Russian planes flying over you all day and dropping bombs on you. So it does look like Putin in the eyes, the nose, the cheekbones. Very interesting how people make associations and predictions based on what has been and what is to come. So that conversation got me thinking, and here's that image blown up, as they say in the trade. So that this Putinesque image appears right here in the total fresco. And I love that. I love this. I love it when we talk about art and politics and war, because they're all intertwined. And there is the face of the devil, eating people. Some might say eating Adam and Eve. I don't know. But he looks very hungry. Eating Ukraine, perhaps. And that got me thinking of my friend from many years ago, 40 years ago, 45 years ago, back in Nebraska. His name is Dick Terhune. His last name, Terhune. And people have a habit of running his name together. So his name often gets pronounced Dictor Hune, because they say it too fast. Not Dick Pause Terhune, but Dictor Hune. So that's become a big joke. Some people say Dr. Terhune. It's not doctor, it's Dictor. Dickater. Last name Hune, Dictor Hune. And Dick was a big radio guy in Lincoln. After I left, he's a little bit older than I am, he went on to become the superstar, not the Jesus Christ superstar, just the regular old superstar of the Lincoln Community Playhouse, where I think over 3 years he had the lead role in about 25 productions. And he's multi-talented, can do 1,000 things, 1,000 different characters. He starred in several of my plays, including The Westboro Crusaders, which is now on video, on our Vimeo account. But the thing that has always fascinated me about Dick, and he doesn't talk about this, and I understand why. He, many years ago, moved from Lincoln to Connecticut, where he has a radio production company. And he married well and has beautiful children, and I think ran a big community theater, professional theater, something in Connecticut. So all he does is theater all day and loves it. But the writer-director in me looks at my friend, as I knew him then, Dictor Hune. I'm Dictor Hune. This is Dictor now. And I cannot not see Putin in him. Now, I think that Dick could make millions and millions of dollars on television and movies playing Vladimir Putin for the rest of his life and make a lot of money. He's got the look, and he's born and bred in Beatrice, Nebraska. Okay, so he's not foreign. He looks very European. He's not. He's a Nebraska boy. A little odd, but aren't we all? And yes, he is from Beatrice, Nebraska, spelled Beatrice. And every radio and television person who comes to Nebraska always pronounces it Beatrice, Nebraska. And that's how you know you're not from here. You don't fit in. It's Beatrice, not Beatrice. So I'm just looking on the Google, and all I see is Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin, young man. Vladimir Putin, young man. Vladimir Putin now. My friend Dick now. I call it a Putin doppelganger. And my feeling is, knowing Dictor, is that he's a very good, positive person, wonderful guy. That he probably isn't thrilled that everyone thinks that he looks like Vladimir Putin. But he would, I know, play the role, and I know, take the money and run. So maybe he will. Any casting agents out there looking to fill a Putin role? I know a guy. He does his own version of Christmas Carol, starring himself. It's very Dick. Oh, here's angry Putin. I mean, angry Dictator here. Here is charming Putin, charming Dictator Yoon. Come on now, put it up. There you go. Oh, here's regular Dick, just being Dick. Huh? And he has the Putin voice down. He sounds like Putin, and he's from Nebraska. But he has the same voice, the same tone, the same timbre in his voice as Putin. I know he's not happy about it. Putting a point on this. Remember Josh Hawley, the senator from Missouri? A lot of people think that he's a big punk. He's the one who egged on the protesters, raising his hand, "Go, protest, man." And then they show him inside running like a little child away from the crowd. But he thinks he's a big tough guy, really smart, picks on people. He's a big bully. And Josh Hawley becomes the first senator to oppose Finland or Sweden joining NATO. Can you believe that? I find the whole thing absolutely shocking. And here are the headlines. There he is. Don't forget that face. As they say on Reddit, punchable faces. Have you ever been on that subreddit? Find it. Josh Hawley to me is the poster boy. Senator Josh Hawley said he does not think the U.S. should support Sweden or Finland's NATO bid. He thinks America's greatest foreign adversary isn't Europe. It isn't Russia. It looms in Asia. I'm talking about the Republic of China. The China virus. That's what they're coming from. So this is Senator Hawley's take on international and domestic security. There can only be one threat. There can't be multiple threats. Only one threat. And that one threat to the entire world is China. Not Russia, not the Putin. China. Can't be both. Not possible to be attacked from two sides. Only one, the Chinese side. I mean, just saying it and writing it down makes any reasonable, legitimate person a Josh Hawley denier. Why are you here? Why are you a senator? And the Kansas City newspaper in Missouri went after him. But people vote for him. The Senate will soon vote on adding Sweden and Finland to NATO, Josh Hawley wrote. According to the terms of NATO's founding treaty, that means the United States would be obliged to defend both countries in the event of a military attack. I intend to vote no, because the real threat is Chinese imperialism. I mean, how do you abide a person like that? It's completely cruel and nasty and mean. And is he in Putin's pocket? Has he visited Moscow? Is he a friend of Putin's? Has he visited Dictator Yoon in Connecticut recently? These are questions we need to discover and find the answer to. And now it's time for a blood pressure break. Returning in a moment. And we are back from break. I'm David Bowles, and this is Bowles.tv. BOLES.TV. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. So, just before we move on, reviewing Vladimir Putin, the musical, starring Dick Terhune. Dick? Vlad? The devil. Putin? Dick? The devil. We've done it. We've made the association. So what else is in the news? Well, have you heard about this? Hey! Why do we do this? Republicans say, as Kansas gets ready to vote in the first state if they're going to outlaw abortion as part of their constitution. Restricting websites that provide abortion information is the next step in GOP's plan. A chilling effect on free speech. Now, did we just hear from our friends, our no-personality friends in Russia, who are not allowed to speak out against Putin? Hey, Gordon says, in the Romanian language, Putin, which is pronounced Pustin, means a little. Oh, that's very good. I like that a lot. Yes, my friend, our friend Alexander in Ukraine calls him Putler, P-U-T-L-E-R, which is a combination of Hitler and Putin, which I find very funny. Putler. But Pustin is very good as well. And my friend said, look, it's going to be the people who are going to overthrow Putin eventually. That's just how these things go. But he's going to be replaced by someone who's just as cruel and bloodthirsty. So really, what difference does it make? It's all going to continue. So there's a South Carolina bill that would make assisting people getting abortions online over the phone a felony. Tech law scholars say laws like these violate the First Amendment freedom. However, other states could soon propose measures to curtail out-of-state abortions, scholars say. Well, wouldn't it be great if all the young women in these red states, where these men want to control everything about their bodies, would just get up and move to a blue state? So the entire red state would just be filled with a bunch of guys, all looking at each other with that look in their eye. No pregnancies here, but lots of sex. If SB 1373 in South Carolina were to become law, providing information that could help women get an abortion by telephone, internet, or any other mode of communication, including smoke signals and flares, probably, or hosting or maintaining websites that could help women access abortions, would be a felony. Well, that's where you love the blockchain, right? IPFS. We've talked about it here before. Put stuff on IPFS. Browsers can go to an IPFS website and you can see information that cannot be taken down. Punishable by 2 to 5 years in prison and or fines up to $5,000. Well, now, where did we hear that $5,000 before? Earlier? Oh, yeah. Our friend in Russia. His friend fined $5,000 for saying, when the war ends. $5,000. Don't disparage the Russian army. Don't tell women about their abortion choices. We are very worried that we are going to see a number of emerging state laws trying to limit the ability of people to get reliable, accurate information and about how to access reproductive care. I guess you would go after the web server host. People say in Russia, you can get information. You can use a VPN, you can use a Tor browser, you can get around the firewall. But they say in China it's very different because they didn't really have an internet in China for a long time. And when they built the internet, the government built the internet. So this Great Wall of China firewall that they have created, the Great Firewall of China, is completely owned and operated by the government. So they can do everything and anything to block you from getting access in or out of China. They've done a very good job at that. Russians, not so well. Some say the law is plainly unconstitutional and the breadth of the bill is startling. Well, this is everything these GOP people are doing is to get in front of the Supreme Court, to have the Supreme Court back them up. They want us to live in a Christian nation. We are one nation under God, indivisible. No liberty, no justice for anyone. Hey, South Carolina's bill resembles legislation by the National Right to Life Committee, one of the most established anti-abortion organizations in the United States de Americana. The NLRC proposed the model legislation as a way to create an effective enforcement regime. Well, isn't that interesting? It sounds almost authoritarian. That would prevent healthcare providers from offering abortion services. Goodwin, a lawyer, pointed to Bigelow versus Virginia, a pre-Roe Supreme Court case that made it legal to share information that could help women get abortions. As precedent would make SB 1373 unconstitutional. However, the Dobbs decision means the Supreme Court may be unreliable in holding established precedent. Well, of course they are. They don't care. John Roberts wanted to peck away at Roe, try to convince Brett Kavanaugh to go along with him. And I guess Brett Kavanaugh was sort of listening to him. They were having conversations, and then the leak happened. And then Kavanaugh felt he had to go forward and not back down. So that's what's coming for us. Not only do they want to rule women's bodies, but they want to keep them in the dark. The fact that internet companies are not always able to restrict sites in certain states and may have to completely restrict abortion information to comply with state laws is going to be, in my opinion, untenable. So the states are going to sue the internet companies. The internet companies are going to crumble and crush and fall and say, okay, we give in. We'll ban everything. So what we fear might happen is that if a bill like this would have passed, then that would have a really chilling effect on everybody's free speech. Welcome to America. Is it America? I don't know. But imagine with all this Putin stuff, if we still had Trump in office. Wow, we'd be in big trouble. And here we go, from the Kansas City Star. Taking on our old friend, Josh Hawley. Insurrection, racism, appeasement. Call it the Hawley Trinity. This is his hometown newspaper. There he is again. Gettable faces, as they say on Reddit. As Russian troops pour into eastern Ukraine, provoking what may become the most dangerous shooting war in Europe since World War II, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley is the disgraceful voice of appeasement. America has an interest in Ukraine's independence and territorial integrity, Hawley said. And we have a strong interest in deterring Russian adventurism, but These interests are not so great that we should commit ourselves to fight Russia over Ukraine's future. America should denounce the incursion with one voice, but hey, don't look to Senator Hawley for help. His public two-step is about the Russian threat, amplified by countless tweets and television appearances, has clearly provided aid and comfort to Putin and hardliners in Russia. Why? Let's follow the money, Senator Hawley, from Moscow to Missouri. Yes, even as he now hypocritically complains that the sanctions Joe Biden has announced are not enough. These people and a great deal of the GOP leadership will have blood on their hands, tweeted Alexander Vindman, former staff member of the National Security Council. They're fanning flames, encouraging Putin to attack Ukraine. What's most pathetic is that these Republicans are openly supporting a dictatorship that has attacked America. Tweeted former Russian chess champion and human rights activist Garry Kasparov. Missourians should be outraged by Hawley's behavior, but they can't be surprised, because he tried to throw out nearly 7 million presidential votes from Pennsylvania. He raised his fist. Meh, Josh Hawley, on January 6th, encouraging insurrection at the Capitol. So there you go, Josh Hawley, senator to the stars. Really? Hey, did you hear Joe Biden has COVID? And I'm not laughing, I just find it funny because he has it again, so did he really ever get rid of it? He's old, he's fragile. This COVID can kill. But he's also the president of these United States of Americana. So he has the best doctors around to help him through it. And he looks great, he looks fine. But what's interesting about this article is Paxlovid. This is the miracle wonder medication that helps people get better from COVID. However, it appears that Paxlovid doesn't really help you if you are vaccinated, double vaxxed, double boosted. It really only helps people who've never been vaccinated before, because it prevents them from getting really, really super sick and dying in a hospital. They get really, really sick, but they don't die. And they don't have to usually be ventilated. But for someone like Biden, or me, or the Jana Marie, who have every shot imaginable, Paxlovid doesn't really do anything because there's nothing really for it to do that your boosters and your shots are not already doing for you. And I try to stay on top of this stuff. So I have Paxlovid, written in my mind, tattooed on my tongue, so to speak, that if we ever get sick, I'm going to go to the doctor and say, please, we need Paxlovid. But now you're reading this article and you realize there are doctors out there that say, well, it's not really helping anybody if you're already vaxxed and boosted. Some providers are prescribing the drug, Paxlovid, with a bit less enthusiasm, particularly when it comes to vaccinated patients like Biden and Dr. Fauci. Family medicine doctor and researcher at Yale said she's feeling a sense of resignation about Paxlovid, and there was a lot of excitement about it 6 months ago. Though it's one of the few COVID treatments she can offer, she can't say with confidence that the pills will help someone who's been immunized. Chair of medicine at UC San Francisco called assessing the value of Paxlovid for these patients a massively complicated three-dimensional chess game. Now, you wouldn't think that with a medication. Just give it to them. See what happens. Well, I guess not. Anyone who might want to take the drug should discuss with their doctor whether and when they've been infected before, how many vaccine doses they've had, and whether they had them, their age, and other risk factors, all in light of the limited clinical data that are now available. Patients will surely struggle to make sense of all these variables. Their doctors might too. I can barely decide whether I want it. And I do this for a living, the doctor said. So it's not something that's that easy to just take, I guess. It must have side effects or something. Paxlovid is effective at keeping unvaccinated, high-risk people who are most likely to require hospitalization if they come down with COVID alive and out of the hospital. The drug has some side effects, such as strange and unpleasant taste, but its safety profile is stellar. No statistical benefit to taking Paxlovid if you're already vaccinated. We're scratching our heads. There's no data at this point that's convincing enough to just prescribe Paxlovid to everybody. Now, some people among us will say, well, this is all part of a campaign to have people stop asking for Paxlovid because they don't have enough pills, just like the monkeypox. So they put out, PR like this that says, well, if you're vaccinated, you don't need Paxlovid. Well, maybe you do. And you just don't know yet. Hey, have you heard about the monkeypox? Well, here's a great article from The Atlantic and how America should have been able to handle monkeypox after 2 years of ridiculousness in COVID. When monkeypox was first detected in these United States, it seemed, as far as infectious disease epidemics go, like this country should have been able to handle it. Unlike SARS-CoV-2, monkeypox was a known entity, a relative softball on the pathogenic field. It was not hypertransmissible, moving mainly through intimate contact during the disease's symptomatic phase. Previous epidemics had, with few interventions, rather quickly burned themselves out. And you would think so. Limited to generally the gay community, male-on-male sex. Stop it there, monkeypox becomes nothing. But, as this article goes on to say, we failed. Monkeypox, the country's second infectious crisis in 3 years, isn't just an unfortunate fumble, it's confirmation that although the U.S. might have once seemed like one of the nations best equipped to stop and prevent outbreaks, it is, in actuality, one of the best at squandering its potential. May and June, monkeypox tests remained siloed, which means not shared inside the CDC and its network of public health labs, already stretched by COVID. Healthcare providers had to shuttle specimens to centers for diagnosis, leaving patients on tenterhooks for days, even weeks, delaying treatment, vaccination, and contact tracing. And there was a story in the New York Times about this young man not feeling well, went to get tested, knew he had monkeypox, waiting for confirmation. They ignored him for 7 weeks, never got back to him. And he healed, and they didn't ask him who he was hanging out with, who he was having sex with. They never followed up, and they should have. The issue at hand certainly is about monkeypox vaccine demand. Every gay man I know is ready for this vaccine and is willing to stand in line to get it. Even though more vaccine doses are headed out, as cases balloon, this country still might not have enough, and we don't have enough. Need more vaccine, and we don't have it. Supplies are limited. We need to be vaccinating people where the virus is moving, which means we need to give both messages simultaneously. This is not something that only now affects gay men. while also nodding to the fact that monkeypox is still primarily affecting certain communities. A trend that should influence the distribution of shots. Calls for the mass vaccination of children over cis-het suburban moms are not where you're going to get the most impact. It's true. You have to go right at the center of it and attack it right where it's happening. Contain so it doesn't spread. Monkeypox's overlapping tenure with SARS-CoV-2 has aggravated matters as well. The virus could not have picked a worse time to make its grand entrance to the global scene. Still reeling from one outbreak, people are weary and have very little appetite for taking on another. And you see this on Reddit in many of the university groups, where kids are asking each other, are we going to have class in the fall with this monkeypox? Is it safe to go to school? And I don't, personally, who am I? But I don't see a threat to monkeypox right now. I think everyone's fine. No one's really kissing or touching. But now you're seeing things that say, well, if someone is infected with monkeypox and they touch a surface, it stays alive for 3 days. Now, that could be a problem in a classroom where you have kids coming in and out, sitting in different desks in one classroom, 10 times a day. And then the whole classroom becomes infected with the monkeypox, pox. And then everybody has monkeypox and everyone's sick. And they all get COVID. And they all have to move to Russia. This is the world in which we live. Sort of. And now we're taking a break. Returning in a moment. And we're back from break. On my way back, I see we're in an ad break from the MooBot, the Bowls bot. So I thought, wait a little bit till we make sure we come back. We've had an interesting show. Do one more very interesting topic that I find fascinating, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. Unpicking the link between smell and memory. I think it's wonderfully interesting because even in my old age, in my dotage, there are certain times, like when it rains or when you're in the park, where you smell fresh mown grass that you just stop and you smell. And you're propelled back in time. That when you were a child in North Loop, Nebraska, a village of 400 people, and you're just propelled there in that time, moment, space. You see people around you, you feel the sun on your face, and it's all triggered by a smell. And all of our senses are very interesting, but smell is really fascinating. I knew a woman who was a student, not my student, but a student in a class that I was in as a student, who lived her life through her nose. I'd never met anything like that before or since. Where a piece of paper, a pen, coffee creamer, whatever she held in her hand, she would smell it. And she wouldn't, smell, she would smell it. Oh, you give me this pen to write with? Let me smell it first, then I'll write with it. I don't know what she was looking for. I don't know if she was identifying a threat, a delight, memorizing the sense of people. I can imagine if you were in a relationship with her, she would smell you up and down all day, every day to see what infections you have, I guess, or to see how delicious you were for later. But it was and we went out to, as a group to have, a coffee meeting, and she would have a little creamer thing. She would open it before she would put in her coffee. She would smell it. And one time she said, "Oh, this is bad," and she put it down. And I said, "I'll get you another one." She said, "Okay," so I brought her 3 so she could pick one and smell, put it in there. Oh no, here we go. Revelation of character, as they say in the dramatic circles. Commissioner Gordon checking in from Florida, saying, "I smell everything. I eat or drink, even water, and I can't explain why. I smell water when I know what water should smell like." Well, that's very interesting, because water really does have a distinct, weird taste in different places. Soft water does smell different than just regular water. New York water, just tap water, smells different than New Jersey water, I guarantee you. Very interesting. I guess we're not big smellers, but I can see how that would be an advantage if there's a threat out there. Very animalistic to smell. Now, this woman, I imagine, in my ridiculousness, that when she meets a new person, she goes and, smells the orifices to see if, like a dog would at a dog park. But perhaps I'm overreacting. So here's a scientific study. A bite of Madeleine cake and a sip of tea is all it took to send Marcel Proust tumbling back into the childhood memory of Sunday mornings with his aunt. No sooner had the warm liquid and the crumbs with it touched my palate. A shudder ran through my whole body, and I stopped, intent upon the extraordinary changes that were taking place. The French novelist wrote in 1913. Oh, there's pounding outside the... If you hear pounding, it's no one knocking on my door. It's a block away. They're putting the foundation in on the new building. The experience of smell sparking a vivid memory will be familiar to many people. And I sometimes have that myself in the fall. Go outside, crisp, Leaves are falling, decay. You take an inhale and you think, woo, that's football weather. And you know what that means when you grow up in Nebraska. Nothing like it. As Proust said, the smell and taste of things remain poised a long time, like souls, ready to remind us. But how smell causes us to time travel in our minds and evoke emotion is not just of literary interest. It's something that scientists are trying to decipher. Smell is very deeply ingrained in our emotional memory. When we hear a sound, the signal is conveyed from our ears to the brainstem, then up to a part of the brain called the thalamus, before finally reaching the auditory cortex. But when it comes to sensing smells, the connection to the brain is less circuitous. Smell-sensing neurons in the nose extend directly to the olfactory bulb of the brain, from which that can then be passed on to other brain regions, including areas involved in memory. It's fascinating. Humans have more than 400 types of olfactory receptor. This affords us a tremendous amount of olfactory detail, and our nervous system needs to categorize all of that smell input. Researchers gave participants in this study only 144 cents to profile a tiny fraction of the full spectrum of smells, which might have limited the number of odor dimensions that the volunteers picked up. When neurons pick up a scent, they become less sensitive to it in the short term, filtering out the expected to emphasize the new. Many people experience this as getting used to a smell in their environment, becoming temporarily unaware of it. Gordon says those participants were sometimes sensitive. Absolutely. You'd have fun with Dick Terhune's name. Dick Terhune. Love the dad jokes. And that's true. You know, sometimes you go into someone's house and, you know, they might have dogs or animals, or maybe they're just not taking care of themselves and there's a bit of a smell. And their nose is numb to it. They don't smell the smell. And that can be a cause for concern for the elderly or for people not taking care of themselves or for the welfare of animals. Because smells can alert you to danger. Even before babies can see well, they have a robust sense of smell. An infant's ability to detect odors is so strong that newborns will prefer the scent of their mother's breast and clothes over those of other people. One idea for this is why preference develops so early is that human amniotic fluid seems to contain individual chemical signatures that prime the developing fetus to be attracted to their parent. That's just wild. In one experiment involving babies who were about to be vaccinated against hepatitis B, researchers exposed some babies to the smell of their mother's milk, whereas others were exposed to the scent of another woman's milk or just to water. The infants who were exposed to the odor of their own mother's milk were less likely to show signs of pain or an elevated heart rate when receiving the immunization. Hey, and Gordon says, and we all know the expression, whoever smelt it dealt it, which is the playground version of snitches get stitches. Very true. 100%. Completely agree. And my sort of friend and mentor, Peter Stone, on Broadway, had a big thing about farting. Not at me, but at other people. People would kind of fart in front of him and he'd be infuriated. And he would say, roughly, to me or to anyone listening, just go to the bathroom. Now, I thought for many years that he meant if you're farting, you have to go to the bathroom. So go to the bathroom and, poop it out. And I always thought that was weird because sometimes people just are gassy or they ate something wrong. They don't have to go poop. They just need to get out the gas. And then I understood he's old world. He's sophisticated, came from a rich family. Don't do this, do that. Be quiet, don't be loud. If you need to let one go, excuse yourself from the room. Don't fart in the presence of other people. And just go into the bathroom, wash your hands, do a little poot, and then go back to the meeting. I believe that's what he actually meant, which I guess makes some sense because who wants to sit next to someone who's, releasing their gas all afternoon? But Peter Stone could smell a fart a mile away, and he was very happy to mention it. So sometimes you smell it. You didn't dealt it, but you stoned it. Often smell memories are associated with positive reflections of the past, but sometimes smells can also trigger traumatic memories. He provided psychiatric help to Vietnam War veterans who was affected by these smells of the Asian food restaurant that he lived above. The fragrance of the food brought back the man to his time in Vietnam. He couldn't sleep at night. It bothered him, and he couldn't put it aside. They also did a study with diesel fuel, bringing back the smell of the terror of the wars. Most recent studies have tried to harness the power of smell to help people recall information. In a 2019 study, volunteers were shown pictures, some of which were paired with unpleasant odors, and when participants were tested on their recall 24 hours later, they were able to recall the images that were shown in tandem with the scent better than those shown without a smell. And it's not just stinky odors that boost memory. A study published the following year showed that smelling the scent of rose while learning and at night before a test boosted participants' performance in exams. So there you go. That's the news of the day. What a wild ride this has been. He says, as a teenager, I found out there are, in fact, ways to amplify the sound. The sound of someone doing a little poot, I believe is what he's talking about. But I wouldn't know because, as several girls in my high school said to us with straight faces, I don't poop. Oh, yes, Gordon confirms he's talking about farts. And you would amplify it, what, electronically, mechanically, with your hands? How would they do it? Was it the sound or the smell they were amplifying? Or both? And people would look at these young women and say, what do you mean you don't poop? I don't poop. Weird. And it was, they were severely insulted if you said, but everybody poops. There's a child's book written about it. We all poop. Where does your food go? And they wouldn't answer. I guess it was not ladylike, or they were also very highly religious. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Freud said that poop is very important in the development of a child because it is seen as a gift to the parents. So a child who does not poop has parental issues. Gordon says both were amplified, smell and sound. Let's just say the instrument is opened a bit. Open cheeks, don't ban me. That's interesting. Because I know people who can rip one, and the butt cheeks do amplify it because there's a little... Very interesting. Yes, this new Bowlsbot is a little less strict when it comes to getting upset with things. But you're also a moderator, so I don't think it directly affects you. If Dora were here talking about her farts, she'd probably be in big trouble. So that's it for today. I thank you so much for being here. I had a wonderful time. Learned a lot about Ukraine, Russia, the psychology of Mr. Putin and how he keeps his people in... I was going to say how he keeps his people in shape, but not shape, how he keeps his people insane. And how we had our own little Putin here as our president for 4 years, wanting to imitate him in every possible way. Sickening. And yet, he still has sycophantic fans. And the commissioner says, also, if you lift up your leg a little bit before you let one rip, it's always louder. That I did not know. But I have read stories about Andre the Giant, where he would, drink 36 beers at a time on a plane, lift his leg, and that's how everyone knew, get out of the way, because you were going to be knocked out by not just the sound, but by the smell. Everyone in the wrestling community said there was no one who had worse smelling farts than Andre the Giant. And he was fine with it. If you have any questions or comments, sharing fart sounds, we're very happy to hear it. Not smell it, hear it. You can email me, david@bowls.tv. If you're looking for Jan Marie, you can email her at jana@bowls.tv. You can find us on the Twitter. Super follows, lots of fun, @David Bowles. Our Facebook page is BOLES. Instagram, we are Bowles Books. The TikTok, we are Bowles TV, and we are also on Discord. Commissioner Gordon signs off from Winter Garden, Florida, saying, thanks for having us. Oops, and the bot replied, oh, what have I done? I've done something, I've hit a key. And you can see our MooBot, which is actually our Bowles bot, in our Discord server, which I just love, is chatting with us. I have to type day. There we go. Streaming from the right table, says, see you in a day or two, and I'll have more ideas for you. And here is our Discord server if you want to join and have fun. Lots of new sections. Upload, play around, have fun. But otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful nap. A relatively delightful fart. Don King had the world's best quote about farts, and I can't find it. It was something like, every good man is to let one go once in a while, but it rhymed. It was fabulous. And I've been out with especially actors who just, you're walking in the street and they just really let one rip. And do you say anything or do you just pretend like it didn't happen? It's hard with some of these guys to pretend it didn't happen because it's very loud. And usually you just say, do you feel better? You okay? And usually they answer you because they're not shy about it, because they just let a giant one rip. So I hope you have a wonderful nap, a great sleep, and when you shall awaken, may your soul be filled with joy, belonging, and safe and clear skies. Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow.